NAION Approver Unit Update, What's in and What's out in 2013. Our intent today is to introduce you to the 2013 ANCC changes in their criteria for the Approver Unit. What has changed in 2013? What has changed is that we now have a 2013 guidelines for continuing education development and approval. This replaces the 2011 guidelines document, which was found on the Approver Unit website and could be easily downloaded for your reference. In addition to that, we have new forms. We have the same biographical and conflict of interest form for both planners and presenters. As you recall, in 2011, we had separate biographical data and conflict of interest forms for planners and presenters, and this caused some confusion. Everyone will now be using the same form. Another new form that we have is called the Educational Planning Table, EPT. This replaces the Activity Outline Form, AOF, as it was referred to. There are many similarities between these two forms, the old and the new, but we think you'll find some new enhancements that you'll find much more acceptable to use. In addition to that, we have a Commercial Support and Sponsorship Agreement form. This replaces a one-page form that applicants attached to the application. The new Support and Sponsorship Agreement form actually contains NAION's Commercial Support and Sponsorship Policy. We'll spend quite a bit more time on this form. We've also added a required disclosures to participants document, which replaces the old disclosure slide. This will assist the applicants to clearly understand what the disclosure requirements are. And a much welcome change for 2013 is that you no longer need to have presenters complete the FDA form. That form has been discontinued by ANCC. What else has changed in 2013? Well, we have a few other forms. We now have a marketing form guideline. And this guideline is there to assist applicants in how to prepare a professional marketing form that includes all of the essential information about their program, as well as making sure that they disclose anything that they need to on that marketing form to participants. We also have a new evaluation form that all applicants must use when evaluating their programs. In the past, the form was recommended, but because it's required from ANCC that we evaluate certain key elements, we are now requesting and requiring that everyone use our evaluation form. You also no longer need to have a representative from each target audience on your planning committee. This will be also very welcomed by the applicants. So for example, if your target audience includes LPNs, in the past you needed to have an LPN as a member of your planning committee. You now no longer need to do that. We want to invite everyone that we can to our nursing educational offerings. There's another change, this is a big one, that you may now co-provide your programs. This is actually an application question. In the past, you could not co-provide. Let's spend a little bit of time specifically on what this means. Co-providing is allowed, and it's important that you clearly understand that the program applicant, the one that is placing the program online for us to review, is the group that needs to stay in control of that program at all times. That group is the group that the actual contact hours will be awarded to. You must stay in control of determining the activities and content of your educational event, who the planners and presenters, especially the specialists for the content, will be. You stay in charge of the contact hours, the record keeping, the evaluation, and the management of commercial support and/or sponsorship. You cannot co-provide with a commercial interest or sponsor, and we'll spend a little bit more time talking about that as we go. The nurse peer review leader, myself, will be contacting anyone who is co-providing as there is additional information. but the approver unit reviewers will be looking at this as it is an application question. What else has changed in 2013? You must identify on the application the type of organization that you are using the ANCC criteria and categories. There was not a requirement for this in the past. It's new, and the intent is that we need to make sure that the organizations that are providing the continuing education are not a commercial interest. A commercial interest is any entity that is either producing, marketing, reselling, or distributing healthcare goods or services consumed by or used on patients, or an entity that is owned or controlled by an entity that produces, markets, resells, or distributes healthcare goods used or consumed on patients. If you are a subsidiary of a commercial interest, meaning you are owned by them, that means that you are also considered to be part of the commercial interest group. So again, there is a specific question on the application, and the applicants must answer this type of organization, this type of question to make sure that we are clear on what type of an organization they are. Additional changes: you must identify a specific gap in the knowledge, skill, or practice for your target audience. Again, this is an application question, but it now includes a text line, and that's something that we will be evaluating when we look on the approver unit review form. In the past, they only needed to use a check mark to indicate that there was a gap, but now we're asking specifically what that is. So the following question on the applications demonstrates the relationship between your needs assessment, which you have done prior to this program, and again, taking that and applying it to the content of the educational program. The specific question that you'll see on the application is, findings from the need assessment indicated a gap in knowledge, skill, or practice related to, and in the case of our example, best practices to prevent thromboembolism. So it draws the relationship from your needs assessment to the purpose of why you're doing your program. What else has changed? Programs in 2013 must be evidence-based. Again, this is an application question. It wasn't required in 2012, but highly recommended that your programs and how you plan them and how you present them be evidence-based, using the best evidence that there is available. Signatures are also required by the nurse planner now in several places. On all EPTs, educational planning tables, and on the commercial support and sponsorship agreement form. This was not required in the past. The intent on this is that the nurse planners and the members of the planning committee have a much better understanding of the nuances of the forms. And if you give the forms to the presenters to complete, you need to make sure that they're accurate before they're submitted. So the nurse planner must sign in on all EPTs and on all commercial support and sponsorship agreement forms. We also now need the signature of the commercial support provider or sponsor on the CSA form. This was not required before. This may take a little getting used to, but it's to make sure that the commercial support provider or the sponsor understands the NAHAN commercial support and sponsorship policy. You must also use the NAHAN contact hour form. In the past, they could simply provide us with one and we would review it. But because of the strict criteria from ANCC on language, we are now saying they must use the NAHAN one. They must identify also if the program that they're presenting has ever been denied by NAHAN or another ANCC accredited approver. Now, this is now an application question. NAHAN is very aware of whether or not we have approved or denied a program, but an applicant could have attempted to get their program approved through another ANCC accredited approver, and we're asking them for clarification to make sure if they have or have not done that, just to aid us in evaluating their program. And last but not least, we now have 2 categories for program payment. There were 3 in the past. There are now 2. This doesn't directly impact the reviewers, but applicants will see it on their application program.